Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Court clears path for local government elections. GovPay launched in Sri Lanka for instant, on-the-spot online fine payments. Ranil summoned by Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption. Kehelia and Roshan at CID for investigations. Time required to fully assess effects of global shocks on Sri Lanka. Statement from IMF. China raises tariffs on US goods to 125%. Beijing draws the line, says no more matching US tariffs.
On to those stories in detail. President Anurukumara Dissanayake said that Sri Lanka's progress will be driven by the strong international relations that have been established. He expressed his views at a public rally in Akarepattu.
The rally is part of a series of events organized by the National People's Power in the lead-up to the local government elections. It was held this evening in Akarepattu. The event took place under the patronage of President Anurukumara Dissanayake.
We have relieved the burden of the economic crisis by a considerable amount. Back then, the dollar rate when you wake up used to be different from the one that was there when you went to sleep the previous night. By now, the dollar rate is stable at around 300 rupees. The economy is much more stable now. Interest rates went from 30 to 35%. Now we are maintaining at a lower rate than 10%. That is the major indicator of economic stability. Foreign investors left the country at one point. Projects came to a complete standstill. By now, a decision has been made to resume all projects assisted by China, India and Japan. Similarly, the people are now receiving economic benefits of these changes. We as a government made a decision to employ 30,000 more people into government service. There is a shortage of Tamil language speaking police officers. You seem to be a bit hesitant to join the police. That won't do. Salaries have been increased. More facilities will be provided. In the very first draft of our budget itself, we were able to provide state sector employees the highest salary increment there ever has been in the history of Sri Lanka. However, those state sector employees should also make sure that they fulfill their duties towards the general public to the best of their ability. If not, we will take necessary steps against that as well. We have built strong international relations. We went to India first, next we went to China. We have been invited to visit Japan in September. We also recently went to UAE, met the Prime Minister too. The Indian Prime Minister recently visited the country. He promised over 2 billion rupees in aid to develop the eastern province. This government has a proper plan to develop the country. Previously, only politicians could flourish in this country. Wasn't that the case? I shall not mention any names right now, although I could. A list of development plans for each region should be sent for the new budget by November. Should we collect fund from the treasury without stealing any? Mind you, and send it to all Akarepattu for it to be stolen? Keep in mind that we will not be doing that. We are the central government that will put an end to the theft. There needs to be a team to stop the theft of funds. For that, it is the NPP that should win. The government has diverted the country in a good direction. Let's do the same with the local government bodies.
The local government election Sri Lanka 2025.
The Court of Appeal has ordered the removal of the interim injunction that had been preventing local government elections for 18 institutions, including the Colombo Municipal Council, scheduled for the 6th of May. As a result, these local government elections will now proceed as previously planned on the 6th of May. The order was issued during a hearing where petitions were presented by political parties and independent groups against the rejection of nomination papers for these local government institutions. The petitions were reviewed following a motion submitted by the Attorney General. Deputy Solicitor General Manohar Jayasinghe, representing the respondents, informed the court that the respondents would not be presenting objections to the petitions. Jayasinghe argued that the respondents had acted in accordance with the law regarding the nomination papers and requested the court to issue an appropriate order. Lawyers representing the petitioners requested the court to issue an order directing the relevant election officials to accept the rejected nomination papers. After considering the arguments from both sides, the bench issued a writ order nullifying the decisions made by the returning officers to reject the nomination papers. Furthermore, the court ordered the returning officers to accept the previously rejected nomination papers. Consequently, the interim injunction preventing the elections for several local councils, including the Colombo Municipal Council, Udapalata, Pathadumbara, Panvila, Akurana, Harispattua, Hanguranketa and Kuliyapitiya has been lifted. The petitions were reviewed by the acting president of the Court of Appeal, Muhammad Lafar Tahir, and Judge Priyantha Fernando. Minister of Plantation and Community Infrastructure Samantha Vidyaratna says that a certain group of individuals was responsible for repeatedly delaying the local government elections.
දැන් මේ පළාත් පාලන ඡන්දය වුණා. මේක යාලා තියන්න කැමති වෙච්ච ඡන්දයක් නෙවෙයි. මේක ඉස්සෙල්ලා
Even this local government election wasn't an election they were keen to hold. Earlier, our fellow party members handed in their nominations as candidates and we worked for the election as well. But what did Ranil do? He said there would be no election as there was no money to conduct one. The election was delayed. They talk about democracy, but this election is about 3 years overdue now. Then the court gave a ruling to hold the election and now we are acting according to that court ruling. This court ruling says that according to the law of the land and democracy, an election needs to be held. Even as we prepared to hold the election, these people tried their best to delay it, saying it was the budget period and the Sinhala and Tamil New Year season. Their attempts were made even outside the parliament. In the end, what did they do? They even sent people to court. They delayed the election in many of our local government bodies, 18 to be specific. Today, a decision was announced by the Court of Appeal regarding several local government bodies, including the Colombo Municipal Council. They ruled today that all 11 of them should hold the election on the 6th May. The opposition is losing. Their wickets are falling with every ball they play. They tried to avoid holding this election and went to court, but they failed. So the opposition is indeed struggling. You should understand the situation on the ground. Can you see an opposition working for the election? Are they working in the villages? Are they doing any propaganda? Holding discussions or meetings? We haven't seen an opposition this week in our country's entire history. They have become extremely weak. Why? Because they are divided within the opposition itself, fighting each other. They are reaping what they have sown. They are facing the consequences of their own actions. There is nothing we can do about that.
වෙන මොකක්වත් නෙවෙයි. අඹරපු මිරිස් තමයි ඔය පළ දෙන්නේ. ඒවට ඉතින් අපිට කරන්න දෙයක් නැහැ කියන එකයි කියන්න තියෙන්නේ.
With just 25 days left until local government elections, the people are beginning to weigh their choices. Who should lead your community? Who has delivered? And who only made promises? This is a special segment before the ballot.
Before the ballot.
ඒගොල්ලෝ ආපු ගමන් ආහාර
They said they would remove taxes on food, education and healthcare as soon as they come to power. It's been 6 months since they presented the budget. Have prices gone down? They said this would be the last poor day the people will suffer. But has anything changed since he became president? Has the price of fuel dropped by 50 rupees? Has the electricity tariff dropped by 30%? No. That means they lied. They misled you. And now you know the truth. Some say they voted for the compass because they were misled. That's what will be tested now. Who told the truth and who didn't? This election is very important to us. The trust placed in the compass is being tested, not just as the opposition, but even within the government. The compass is the most popular symbol. It represents the people's government. We said we would change the country's political culture. Hasn't that happened? Can anyone now reverse it? If Ranil Wickramasinghe, Sajid Premadasa or anyone from their families tries to bring back the old ways, asking for luxury, power and security, the people won't accept them.
ජනතාව එක පැයක් ඉන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට එන්න දෙන්නෙත් නැහැ.
අගමැතිතුමා රටට ආවා. අගමැතිතුමා ගියා ඉන්දියාවේ.
The Prime Minister of India visited Sri Lanka. It felt like many things that belonged to us returned to India with him. He came back saying the interest on a 100 million rupee loan was reduced, but we know deep down that we have lost billions. Please share the truth with the country.
එකම ගොඩාක් දේවල් අපෙන් ගියා කිය. බිලියන ගණන් වල දේවල්. ඒ නිසා කරුණාකරලා ඒක රටට එලි කරන්න.
අර බේබිලා මේ දවස්වල මරු සෙල්ලමක් කරනවා. දැන් මිනිහා කියන්නේ මේ ඊයේ පෙරේදා ඉන්දියාවේ තරුණ සමුළුවකට හරි මොහොකට හරි.
Baby is playing a clever game. He recently went to a conference in India and praised agreements signed between the president and Modi. But when he came back, he claimed those same agreements were a violation of national security, just like his father. He says one thing in Mana, another in the north, and something else in Hambantota. They shout in parliament today, and tomorrow they are in court.
මේ යෝධයෝ ඔය જાතියේ බඩු පාර්ලිමේන්තුවට ඇවිදilla හයියෙන් කෑ ගැහුවොත් පහුවදා මිනිහගේ නඩුව.
හැබැයි මොන ජවනිකාව පෙන්නුවත් වෙස්මූණු දාගෙන එකම නළුවෝ ටිකක් තමයි එක එක පාරට එන්නේ කියලා අපිට පේන්න තියෙනවා.
No matter the show, it is the same actors wearing different masks. It's all a stage play. At first, people clapped, but later, those who forced themselves into popularity had to ask for applause. One day, they'll have to ask for the round of applause because there'll be nothing else left. When they return to the stage next time, that is all they'll get.
දෙන්නකෝ කියලා කියන්නුනා. ඉල්ලන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඊළඟ වේදිකාවකට කොට උනාම ඉතින් හුව තමයි.
අපට ඉන්නවා මේ රටේ මුදල් රුපියලක් සතයක් හොරකම් නොකරන ජනාධිපතිවරයෙක්ව බාදලා තියෙනවා.
You've created a president who hasn't stolen a single rupee, a leader who is focused on fighting corruption and fraud. You've also created a prime minister, a cabinet, and 159 MPs. Isn't that enough? Today, world leaders admire Sri Lanka's leadership. Why? Because we've taken a stand against theft and corruption. Don't forget that. Now, we are ready for our third victory.
එහෙමනම් අද අපට ඊළඟ දෙවෙනි තුන්වෙනි ජයග්‍රහණය වුණා.
දැන් වේදිකාවල කියනවා ආණ්ඩුව ශක්තිමත්.
They are saying we should strengthen the village just like we strengthened the government. But is power really being given to the village?
දැන් දෙනවද මේ සරේ ගමේ බලය? දෙනවා බම්බුව. ආන්නාරේ. අපි වරදක් කරගත්ත අපි විශ්වාස කළ කතරේ ගැව්වා මේ රට හදායි මේ රටේ
stolen money, fixed the country, but not a single rupee has been brought in for development. We were fooled.
අපි රැවටිලා.
මේ කොහෙද කුබ්බෑවල ඉඳලා කට අරගෙන පණ නැතුව හිටියේ. දැන් මාර වීරෝ දේශප්‍රේමීන් හදනවා.
Where were they before? Silent, hiding, afraid to speak. Now they come out pretending to be horses and patriots. We are trying to rebuild a country that was left in ruins. We are bringing in world support, investors and laws to reclaim stolen assets. The house in Malvana has no owner. The house in Katragama has no owner. We brought in laws to take them back. We've started the work. If you want to build villages and bring real development, you cannot be half in and half out.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
විහිළු නෙමේ ටෝකියෝ සුපර් ඕන වැඩකට සුපර්.
ඔන්න මෙදා සැරෙත් අවුරුද්දට අපි එනවා
කන්තලේ මධ්‍ය මහාවිද්‍යාලීය ක්‍රීඩාංගණයට අප්‍රේල් 19 දවස පුරා
අවුරුදු සිරියෙන් පුරවන්න ඔයාලත් එන්න.
අවුරුදු කුමරා කුමරිය බයිසිකල් ධාවන තරගය
ඔරුපැදීමේ තරගය සහ ජන ක්‍රීඩා රසක් සමග
කුරුණෑගල බැජී සංගීතයට ජනප්‍රිය ගායක ගායිකාවන් ගී ගයන
නැගෙන හිරට අවුරුදු
අප්‍රේල් 19 වනදා දවස පුරා
කන්තලේ මැදි විදුහල ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේදී.
Welcome back. This is Primetime News. Sri Lanka Police has launched a pilot project to facilitate the online payment of traffic fines through the GovPay app. A media briefing to raise awareness about this app was held today at the Department of Government Information.
ඊයේ අපි කුරුණෑගල ඉඳන් දඹුල්ලට A6 සහ දඹුල්ල සිට අනුරාධපුර A9.
We launched our pilot project starting from Kurunagala to Dambulla via the A6 and then from Dambulla to Anuradhapura via the A9 route. The first payment was made yesterday through the Bank of Ceylon app, where a man paid his fine in Malsiripura and renewed his license. He doesn't have to go to post offices now. At that moment, the police officer will ask whether they would like to pay a spot fine. You can make the payment even while on the road or in your vehicle and using your internet banking or mobile banking apps. Many mobile apps now support this feature.
ගොඩක් මොබයිල් ඇප්ස් වල මේක දැන් සපෝට් කරලා තියෙනවා. සිංහල භාෂාවෙනුත් තියෙනවා. ඒක තෝරගෙන මේ ගෙවීම කරන්න පුළුවන්.
තවමත් රටේ පරිහරණය වෙනවා මුදල් හා නෝට්ටු.
According to data from the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, the total amount of currency and notes in circulation annually is approximately 1.3 trillion rupees. Of this, 1 trillion rupees is held by the public, indicating a substantial volume of cash actively circulating within the population. About 1.5% of our entire GDP goes into just managing this cash. Holding on to 1 trillion rupees in physical cash doesn't really help anyone.
කාටවත් වාසියක් නැහැ. ඒතර මේ ට්‍රිලියනේ අපේ ආර්ථිකයට ලොකු පාඩුවක්.
A pilot project to enable card transactions on expressways was launched today. The first transaction was paid at the Kottava interchange of the Southern Expressway. Chairman of the Road Development Authority, T. Bhaskaran, and Director General SMP Surya Bandara were in attendance to witness the occasion.
අද දින සිට අපි මාසයක කාලයක් මේක නියම ව්‍යාපෘතියක් වශයෙන් කටයුතු කරනවා.
We are launching this as a pilot project for 1 month. During that time, we aim to expand the card payment system to the entire expressway network. This will help reduce travel time and long queues at exits. Our goal is to launch the full system across Sri Lanka by the first week of May.
අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා ලංකාව පුරාම මේක ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න.
For now, the pilot project is active only at the Kottava and Kadavatha interchanges. The Road Development Authority said that payments can be made using QR codes in addition to bank cards.
The Ceylon Electricity Board has announced the signing of a power purchase agreement for the Sahasranavi power plant. In a statement, the CEB noted that the construction, ownership and operation of the power plant will be undertaken by Sahasranavi Limited. After 25 years, ownership of the plant will be transferred to Ceylon Electricity Board.
The power purchase agreement for the Sahasranavi power plant aims to provide reliable and affordable electricity to residential and commercial consumers in Sri Lanka. The Public Utilities Commission has approved the construction of the 350 megawatt Sahasranavi combined cycle power plant, which will be expedited. The CEB said that the plant will initially supply electricity to the national grid through open cycle operations within 30 months. Subsequently, it will commence full combined cycle operations within an additional 12 months. This power plant operates using liquefied natural gas or LNG, which is a cleaner energy source. The Ceylon Electricity Board said in its announcement that this will provide essential support to the growing renewable energy sector in Sri Lanka. This power plant has the unique capability of providing flexible power generation that can be operated according to demand, especially during night time and periods of low wind speeds. This also enables it to balance the fluctuations that occur in solar and wind power generation. The Ceylon Electricity Board said that by 2028, all power plants like Sapugaskanda and other similar facilities will be completely converted from diesel fuel to RLNG. It pointed out that following this transition, fuel costs can be reduced by approximately 50% and harmful gas emissions can also be significantly lowered. A global trade war is brewing as the US imposed tariffs on a growing list of countries, heightening concerns about economic growth and roiling stock markets around the world. While several countries received positive responses from the US regarding trade talks, the US-China's dealings were far from friendly. Trump's latest executive order boosted tariffs on Beijing to 125%, stacked on top of a combined 20% fentanyl-related tariff imposed in February and March. Now, China today announced that it too will impose a 125% tax on imports from the United States. The exchange of steep tax hikes has raised concerns of a renewed trade war between the two economic giants, and global markets are now bracing for what could come next. This is the latest on this developing story.
US President Donald Trump on the 2nd of April announced reciprocal tariffs on imports from about 90 nations that are above a 10% across-the-board tax applied to all imports to the US. Describing the announcement as Liberation Day, the president said the new taxes are needed to erase a trade deficit between the US and other countries, ranging from China to the European Union. The US initially imposed a 34% tariff on Chinese goods. China shot back and implemented a matching 34% tariff on imports from the US. President Trump then threatened China with an extra 50% tariff on goods imported into the US. In retaliation, China raised its tariff on US goods to 84%. The US warned that if China did not roll back the 84%, it would respond with a 104% tariff on Chinese imports. Despite mounting pressure, China held firm in its position. President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on all tariffs except those imposed on China, which saw tariffs increase to at least 125%. China today hiked its levies on imports of US goods to 125%, hitting back at US President Donald Trump's decision to single out the world's number 2 economy for higher duties while dismissing the US president's tariff strategy as a joke. Beijing indicated that it would be the last time it matched the US in the event that Trump takes his tariffs any higher. Both sides now tax 100% of each other's goods. Earlier in the day, Donald Trump said there will always be transition problems and difficulty amid continued uncertainty over the US president's global tariff war.
There will always be transition difficulty, and there'll be a transition cost, transition problems, but in the end it's going to be a beautiful thing. What happens with China? We would love to be able to work a deal. They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond nobody. How people stood for it, sitting in my position, is not even believable. And we're talking about many presidents, not just a couple. But they did, and all we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table. And I'm sure that we'll be able to get along very well.
Trump said he was still hoping to secure a deal with China. On the other hand, Chinese leader Xi Jinping has said his nation is not afraid in his first public comments on the escalating trade war with the United States. Xi said, according to foreign media, that regardless of how the external environment changes, China will remain confident, stay focused and concentrate on managing its own affairs well. Meanwhile, markets continue to face a turbulent time. Stock markets slid further amid growing fears of an escalating trade war between the world's two biggest economies. Indexes reversed the relief rallies that had followed Trump's announcement on Wednesday of a 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs on most other countries, reverting to a baseline of 10%. European markets had been gaining today before Beijing's latest tariff news, but afterwards slid into the red. London's FTSE 100 index slipped 0.4% on Friday morning, while in Paris, the CAC 40 dropped by 1.3%. The German DAX slipped 1.1%, while the Pan-European Stocks Europe 600 index fell by 0.9%. In Asia, stocks had already been falling before the announcement. Japan's Nikkei 225 index ended the session down 3%, reversing the previous day's 9% gain. Meanwhile, South Korea Kospi index dropped 0.5%. However, the Chinese share indexes were resilient in the face of higher tariffs, with the Hang Seng rising by 1.1% and the Shanghai Composite taking up 0.5%. Meanwhile, the US dollar index dropped sharply again, putting the greenback on track for its worst day since 2022. The index, which measures the US dollar against a basket of global currencies, was last down 1.83%.
The International Monetary Fund said that Sri Lanka's ambitious reform agenda, supported by the IMF Extended Fund Facility, continues to deliver commendable outcomes. However, it warned that recent external shock and evolving developments are creating uncertainty for the Sri Lankan economy. which is still recovering from its own economic crisis.
The International Monetary Fund stated that recent external shocks and evolving developments are creating uncertainty for the Sri Lankan economy, which is still recovering from its own economic crisis. IMF Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Evan Papajojo, emphasized in a statement that more time is needed to assess the impact of the global shock and how its implications for Sri Lanka can be addressed within the contours of the IMF-supported program. He said that the government's sustained commitment to program objectives is ensuring policy continuity and strong implementation. The IMF mission chief added that going forward, sustaining the reform momentum is critical to safeguard the hard-won gains of the program and put the economy on a path toward lasting macroeconomic stability and higher inclusive growth. He warned that against increased global uncertainty, sustained revenue mobilization efforts and prudent budget execution in line with the Budget 2025 are critical to preserve the limited fiscal space. He noted that boosting tax compliance, including by reinstating an efficient and timely VAT refund mechanism, will help contribute to revenue gains without resorting to additional tax policy measures. He added that restoring cost recovery in electricity pricing will help minimize fiscal risks arising from the electricity state-owned enterprise.
News First with the people.
Former Ministers Kehelia Rambukvella and Roshan Ranasinghe visited the Criminal Investigation Department today. Minister Kehelia Rambukvella visited the CID to provide a statement concerning an investigation into the human immunoglobulin transaction. He left the CID after recording a statement for about 3 hours. Former Minister Roshan Ranasinghe arrived at the department this morning to provide a statement regarding an ongoing investigation.
The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption has summoned former President Ranil Wickremesinghe to provide a statement regarding an ongoing investigation under Anti-Corruption Act. This investigation pertains to allegations against Member of Parliament Chamara Sampath Dasanayake.
The inquiry conducted by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption is related to a complaint that MP Chamara Sampath Dasanayake engaged in corrupt practices by withdrawing a fixed deposit from the National Savings Bank before its maturity in 2016. The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption noted that Ranil Wickremesinghe is believed to have knowledge relevant to the investigation, as indicated by his recent media statements. The Commission observed that Ranil Wickremesinghe may have been involved in the sequence of events under the investigation. Ranil Wickremesinghe has been requested to appear before the Commission on the 17th of April at 9:30 a.m., bringing any relevant documents to confirm the details provided in his statement.
මම අගමැතිව හිටපු කාලෙදී විශේෂ මෛත්‍රීපාල සිරිසේන ජනාධිපතිතුමා සමග
During my time as Prime Minister and in consultation with then President Maithripala Sirisena, it was the Treasury Secretary who issued a circular at the time. It specifically mentioned that funds from Provincial Council deposit accounts should not be left idle. Both government allocated and other funds were meant to be utilized within the same fiscal year. Otherwise, they had to be returned either to the Treasury or the Provincial Council's relevant ministry. Keeping those funds deposited and later diverting them to other projects was against the law. That is why we took that decision. During that period, Chamara Sampath and several other chief ministers contacted me directly. I made it clear to them why such actions were not permissible. Following that, they seem to have withdrawn the funds from their respective deposit accounts.
මෙතනින් තමයි ඒ අය මුදල් තමන්ගේ තැන්පත් ගිණුම් වලින් ඉවත් කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
Biz Fast.
The National Lotteries Board has issued a warning to the public about operating illegal lottery betting dens, which is reportedly taking place in Sri Lanka. According to a media release issued by the National Lotteries Board, the illegal operations involve people predicting the last 2 digits of official lottery numbers and collecting money from the public based on those predictions. The National Lottery Board has received several reports about the growing number of people participating in this. The media release states that those operating the betting dens are not connected to the official lottery system and are collecting money illegally. It added that several individuals involved in this operation have already been arrested during raids and have been produced before court for legal action. The National Lotteries Board said that it has informed local police stations to take action against anyone found operating such illegal gambling dens. The NLB also highlighted the importance of the official lottery system. About 20% of ticket sales revenue goes to distributors, agents and sellers, supporting over 20,000 families. More than 50% of the revenue is used for prize payments and the rest is sent to the Treasury to fund public welfare projects. The NLB also pays taxes and staff salaries from lottery sales. The National Lotteries Board reminded the public that buying official lottery tickets helps support national development, while illegal operations like betting dens offer no benefit to the country. The NLB is urging the public to avoid such illegal activities and support only the official lottery system.
Shifting your attention to international news. 6 people, including 3 children, were killed after a helicopter carrying a family of tourists crashed into the Hudson River in New York.
In the water.
6 people died after a sightseeing helicopter crashed into New York City's Hudson River near Lower Manhattan. Augustin Escobar, an infrastructure chief executive for the technology company Siemens, his 3 children and his wife were pulled from the helicopter or the frigid river, but none survived.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
The helicopter reportedly broke apart mid-air and crashed upside down in the river between Manhattan and New Jersey. The Federal Aviation Administration identified the helicopter in question as a 7-seater single-engine Bell 206. Videos posted in social media showed parts of the chopper splashing into the water and the overturned aircraft submerged with rescue boats circling it. The National Transportation Safety Board and the Federal Aviation Administration say they will investigate the incident.
From that, we bring to a close this edition of Primetime News on TV1.
Thank you for watching. Take care. Good night.